Hi, I'd like to show you some tips and tricks when building and flying your multi-rotor. Whether you have a quad, a hex, a tricopter, or even an octocopter, there are several things that you need to know before getting your craft in the air. The first thing you're going to want to do is check all of your solder joints to make sure that they're all tight. One of the very first flights I had, I didn't check this, and one of them came loose in flight, and guess what? Motor stopped spinning, fell to the ground. After you make sure they're all tight and they're going the right directions and everything is good, you can put your heat shrink tubing over and use your heat gun and shrink that stuff on there. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that all your screws on all of your motors are all tight, and your frame as well. And what I like to do is take it for a few test flights, make sure none of the screws are coming out or something's not aligned right, and once I know that everything is good, I like to use Loctite. And make sure you use the blue Loctite, not the red, because the red is really hard to get off, and you'll probably end up breaking screws if you have a crash and you need to build some stuff. The next step is making sure that your GPS compass combo is facing the right direction. Once you establish which direction your multi-rotor is going to be facing, you're going to want to make sure that your compass is pointing in the same direction, so that way when it's flying north it knows to go north. Most compasses will have a indication on them to let you know which way it is to go forward. The other thing that you need to check is that your flight controller is pointing forward as well. Inside my frame here I have a APM 2.6, and it has markings on the top that says forward, so you make sure that that is pointing forward as well. One of the things you need to make sure is that your flight controller is mounted on foam that will reduce the vibrations. As you can see here, I have some white foam stuck in between the frame and my flight controller. I buy the Dubro foam off Dubro's website. It's D-U-B-R-O, and it seems to work really well. I cut it to size. I put some double-sided tape with super glue onto it to get it to stick on here, and then I use the double-sided tape on my flight controller and the double-sided tape on my frame. It's a lot easier to take it off if you have an issue where you need to change some stuff out. If you just super glue it on right to it, it makes a mess. The next thing you're going to want to do is get a prop balancer, and this is a magnetic one that I picked up at a local hobby store for around $15. And basically you take the little bar in the center, stick your propeller on it, and stick it on the magnetic and let it do its thing. This prop is probably not balanced because I haven't balanced it, but basically you can go on YouTube and figure out the best way to balance it. I just use sandpaper, and whatever side is heavy I just sand off a little bit, and then until it gets lighter and it balances itself. The next thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that your props are on securely to your motors. So basically you're going to take your prop adapter and you're going to make sure that the correct size hole is inside the prop, so that way your thing fits in there securely and there's very little movement. And then you're going to stick it on the motor itself, and then you're going to take the little spinner top and you're going to spin that on there until it gets tight. And then I use like an Allen key that's really tiny that can fit in the hole. So what I do is I stick it in the hole and then I turn the entire thing until it's really tight. And you don't want to tighten it too tight because I've broken the aluminum prop adapters before, and then you have to start all over. But you want it tight enough that it can't spin back, especially on the counterclockwise turning motors. Those things can spin right off if you're not careful. Another mistake a lot of people make is they get the strap with their new frame and they just stick the battery down on top of the multi-rotor and they strap it in. Well, that doesn't work too well if you're doing a lot of fast maneuvers. So one tip that I know that is good is to always get some Velcro and put it down with Velcro double-sided and use the strap. That way it will prevent it from being able to slide left and right outside of the frame. The next thing you're going to want to always remember is to set up a battery failsafe. And I know I've been showing you a lot of 3D robotic stuff, but that's the flight controller that I use. But most of the other ones you can get different power modules and things to go with them.